Do you know that feeling that envelops you when you walk into a hospital at 2 a.m.? The fluorescent lights buzzing like angry bees, the echo of your footsteps off the sterile walls, and that ever-present smell of disinfectant that can never quite be masked, ... Something that reminds you of something else. Something that reminds you that not everyone who walks through those doors leaves the same way they came in. But here's what they don't tell you in nursing school. What the orientation videos conveniently skip over. Sometimes the most terrifying thing you'll face in a hospital isn't death itself. Sometimes it's what desperation does to the living. Tonight, I will share 2 stories from Saint Vincent Medical Center in Austin, Texas. These stories are proof that human nature has been pushed to its breaking point. So what happens in this situation? You will see exactly how dark things can get when people have nothing left to lose. However, before diving into the nightmare that unfolded in the emergency room on December 3rd, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever felt so desperate that you would risk harming innocent people to get what you need? Because by the end of tonight's first story, you will understand just how thin the line between victim and predator really is. Story 1. Code Silver in the emergency room. My name's Sarah Mitchell, and I've been working the graveyard shift in St. Vincent's emergency department for 5 years now. I'm 28, about 5'6", and according to my coworkers, I have this annoying habit of humming while I work. Helps me stay focused during the chaos that is overnight emergency medicine. The ER is located on the ground floor, right next to the main entrance. It's designed like a fortress, bulletproof glass at the reception desk, multiple security cameras, and panic buttons every 10 feet. We see everything down here. Overdoses, car accidents, domestic violence cases, and the occasional, genuinely inexplicable injury that makes you question human intelligence. Friday night, December 3rd, started like any other shift. We had the usual mix of patients, a college kid with alcohol poisoning, an elderly woman with chest pains, and a construction worker who'd somehow managed to nail his hand to a piece of plywood. Normal stuff for a weekend night in Austin. Then, at 11:47 p.m., everything went sideways. A woman walked through our automatic doors, carrying what looked like a sleeping toddler. Lisa Hartwell, 26 years old, blonde hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, wearing scrubs that identified her as a nursing assistant from Cedar Park Regional Medical Center, about 20 miles north of us. "Please," she said as she approached the triage desk, "my daughter Emma needs help. She's been sick for 3 days, and she's not responding to anything." The child in her arms was maybe 2 years old, pale and limp, with dark circles under her eyes. Every parent's worst nightmare made flesh. "What seems to be the problem?" asked Jenny, our triage nurse. "High fever, vomiting, won't eat or drink anything," Lisa said, her voice shaking. "I've given her everything, Tylenol, Motrin, cool baths, but nothing's working. I'm scared she's getting dehydrated." Jenny immediately called for Dr. Williams, our attending physician, and within minutes, little Emma was in exam room 3 with Lisa hovering anxiously nearby. That's when things started feeling ... off. I was the nurse assigned to Emma's case, and as I started taking her vital signs, something didn't add up. The child's temperature was completely normal to 98.2 degrees. Her color was good, her breathing was regular. And when I gently pinched her arm to check for dehydration, her skin snapped right back into place. "Her temp's normal now," I told Lisa. "That's good news. Sometimes fevers break suddenly in little ones." Lisa's face went white. "No, that can't be right. She was burning up in the car." "Check it again." I checked again. Still normal. "The thermometer must be broken," Lisa insisted. "She's been running 104 for 2 days straight." Dr. Williams entered the room and began his examination. Emma was alert, responsive, and showing no signs of illness whatsoever. She was even trying to play with a stethoscope. "Mrs. Hartwell," Dr. Williams said gently, "Emma appears to be a perfectly healthy little girl. Are you sure she was exhibiting symptoms of illness?" "Of course I'm sure," Lisa snapped. "I'm a nurse. I know what a sick child looks like." That's when I noticed Lisa's hands. They were shaking, but not from worry, from something else. Her pupils were dilated, and there was a manic energy about her that I'd seen before in people coming down from stimulants. "Lisa," I said carefully, "when was the last time you slept?" What does that have to do with anything? My daughter is sick. Dr. Williams and I exchanged glances. We'd both worked long enough to recognize when a situation was heading toward dangerous territory. Mrs. Hartwell, Dr. Williams said, I'd like to keep Emma for observation, just to be safe. But I also think it might be a good idea to have someone else come pick her up tonight. Is there a family member we can call? No. Lisa's voice echoed through the exam room. Nobody else is taking my daughter. I brought her here because she needs medical attention, not so you people can steal her from me. Ma'am, nobody's trying to steal your daughter, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. We just want to make sure she's... I know what you're doing, Lisa interrupted, backing toward the door with Emma in her arms. You think I'm crazy. You think I'm making it up. Well, let me tell you something. I've seen doctors miss obvious diagnoses before. I've seen children die because some arrogant doctor thought the parent was overreacting. Lisa, please put Emma down and let's talk about this, Dr. Williams said, but Lisa was already moving toward the exit. We're leaving. If you people won't help my daughter, I'll find someone who will. That's when I made a mistake that still haunts me. I stepped between Lisa and the door. Ma'am, I can't let you leave with Emma until we're sure she's safe. Lisa's expression changed in an instant. The worried mother facade dropped away, and what was underneath was pure, cold rage. You can't stop me from leaving with my own child. Actually, if we have concerns about a child's welfare. Lisa didn't let me finish. She shifted Emma to one arm and pulled something from her scrub's pocket. A scalpel. Where she'd gotten it, I'll never know, but the blade caught the fluorescent light as she pointed it at me. Get out of my way, or I'll cut you open right here in front of my daughter. The thing about working in an ER is that you see violence all the time. Domestic abuse victims, assault cases, gang violence. It becomes background noise after a while. But there's something different about having someone threaten you with a medical instrument in a place that's supposed to be about healing. Lisa, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, you don't want to do this. Emma's watching. Emma's sick, Lisa screamed, waving the scalpel erratically. And you people are trying to take her away from me. I won't let that happen. Dr. Williams had already hit the panic button, and I could hear security running down the hallway. But Lisa heard them too. You called security on me, on a mother trying to get help for her sick child. What happened next still doesn't make sense to me. Lisa set Emma down on the floor gently, like she was the most precious thing in the world, and then turned the scalpel toward her own throat. If you try to take my daughter, she said with terrifying calm, I'll kill myself right here, right now. And Emma will watch her mother die because Saint Vincent Medical Center wouldn't help us. I've never felt so helpless in my life. This woman was clearly having some kind of psychotic break, but she was holding her own life hostage. And there was an innocent child standing 3 feet away, who would be traumatized no matter how this ended. Lisa, please, I said. Emma needs her mother to be okay. Put the scalpel down, and let's figure this out together. Emma needs medical attention, Lisa shrieked. She's been sick for days, and you people keep telling me she's fine. What kind of mother would I be if I just accepted that? Security burst through the door, but stopped short when they saw Lisa with the scalpel at her throat. Officer Davis, who I'd worked with for 3 years, immediately got on his radio to call for backup and crisis intervention. Ma'am, I need you to put the weapon down, Officer Davis said in the calm voice they teach in de-escalation training. It's not a weapon. Lisa laughed, but it was a sound with no humor in it. It's insurance. Insurance that you people will actually do your jobs and help my daughter. For 23 minutes, Lisa held that scalpel to her throat while Emma sat on the floor, playing with tongue depressors like nothing was happening. The crisis intervention team arrived, along with Child Protective Services and the Austin Police Department. The standoff ended when Lisa finally collapsed from exhaustion. The scalpel clattered to the floor, and Officer Davis scooped up Emma while paramedics attended to Lisa. It turned out she'd been awake for 4 days straight, convinced that Emma was dying from some mysterious illness that only she could see. Emma was perfectly healthy. Lisa was committed to a psychiatric facility for evaluation and treatment, and I spent the next week wondering if there was something I could have done differently. Some way I could have recognized the signs earlier. The most terrifying part. Lisa really believed Emma was sick. In her mind, she wasn't threatening anyone. She was protecting her child from a medical system that was failing them. Mental illness doesn't make people evil, but it can make them dangerous in ways that nobody sees coming. Story 2. The pharmacy incident. Hey there, I'm Jake Morrison, 24 years old, and I've been working as a pharmacy technician at Saint Vincent's for about 18 months now. The hospital pharmacy is tucked away in the basement, which most people don't realize. We're down there with the morgue, medical record storage, and the maintenance tunnels that connect to the parking garage. It's quiet down here, which I usually like. Just me, the pharmacist, and rows upon rows of medications that keep this place running. We have everything from basic pain relievers to experimental cancer drugs worth more than my annual salary. The security is tight, keypads, cameras, and a vault for the controlled substances that looks like something out of a bank. Wednesday morning, January 12th. I was doing inventory when I heard the elevator doors open at the end of the hall. That was weird because the only people with access to the basement are hospital employees. And it was 6:30 a.m., too early for most staff. I looked up from my clipboard to see a man in scrubs walking toward the pharmacy. He was maybe 45, average height, with graying hair and the kind of tired eyes you see on doctors who've been working too many double shifts. "Morning," he said with a smile as he approached the window. "I'm Dr. Peterson from the 4th floor. We have a patient in 4B who needs something for severe pain, but the regular pain management protocol isn't working." I'd never seen this guy before, but St. Vincent's is a big hospital with rotating residents and visiting specialists. New faces aren't unusual. "Sure, Dr. Peterson. What are you looking for?" "We need 50 milligrams of fentanyl. The patient's been through multiple surgeries, and his tolerance is incredibly high." That request made me pause. 50 milligrams of fentanyl is enough to kill a horse, let alone a human being. Even patients with extreme tolerance don't need anywhere near that amount. "Doctor, that seems like an unusually high dose. Are you sure that's what you meant?" "I've been practicing medicine for 20 years, he said, and there was an edge to his voice now. "I think I know how to dose pain medication." Something felt wrong. I pulled up our system to verify Dr. Peterson's credentials, but I couldn't find any record of him in our database. "I'm sorry, sir, but I'm not seeing you in our system. Could you provide your employee ID number?" "My employee ID?" Dr. Peterson laughed, but it didn't sound friendly anymore. "Son, I don't have time for bureaucratic nonsense. I have a patient upstairs who's screaming in agony, and you're worried about paperwork." "It's not paperwork, sir. It's protocol. I can't dispense controlled substances without proper verification." Dr. Peterson stared at me for a long moment, and I could see him calculating something behind those tired eyes. "Fine," he said finally. "If you won't help me help my patient, then I'll have to explain to his family why their father spent his last hours in unbearable pain because some pharmacy tech was more concerned about following rules than saving lives." He turned and walked toward the elevator, but something about his movement seemed wrong. Instead of pressing the up button, he ducked into the stairwell that leads to the maintenance tunnels. I called security immediately. "This is Jake, in pharmacy. I just had someone claiming to be Dr. Peterson trying to get 50 milligrams of fentanyl. He's not in our system, and he just headed into the maintenance tunnels." Officer Rodriguez's voice crackled through the radio. "Copy that, Jake. Stay in the pharmacy and lock the door. We're sending a team down." I locked the pharmacy door and watched the security cameras. Nothing for about 10 minutes. Then I saw movement in the tunnel camera. A figure in scrubs moving through the shadows, trying doors and checking windows. That's when I realized what was happening. This wasn't a confused doctor or a clerical error. This was someone who knew exactly how to move through the hospital, knew where the pharmacy was located, and knew what medications to ask for. Someone with inside knowledge. My phone rang. It was Officer Rodriguez. "Jake, we've got a problem." The man claiming to be Dr. Peterson. His real name is David Walsh, and he's a former pharmacy tech who was fired from Cedar Park Regional 6 months ago for stealing narcotics. He's been hitting hospitals across Central Texas, posing as medical staff to get access to controlled substances. "He's still down here somewhere," I whispered into the phone. "I can see him on the tunnel cameras. We've got the tunnels surrounded, but Jake, there's something else you need to know. Walsh isn't just stealing drugs to sell them. His girlfriend died from an overdose 3 months ago, and according to his social media posts, he blames the medical system for not giving her adequate pain management. He's been posting about how doctors don't understand real pain, how they let people suffer unnecessarily. A chill ran down my spine. You think he's planning to hurt someone? I think he's planning to hurt everyone he can find down there. We found his car in the parking garage. There's a notebook inside with detailed floor plans of Saint Vincent's and a list of staff members who worked the night shift. That's when the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in a few seconds later, bathing everything in an eerie red glow, but the main power to the basement level was definitely cut. Someone who knew where the electrical panels were located had just plunged us into darkness. I could hear footsteps in the hallway outside the pharmacy, slow and deliberate. Then a voice, Jake Morrison. I know you're in there, buddy. It was Walsh, and he sounded calm. Too calm. I'm not going to hurt you, Jake. You're just doing your job. I get that. But I need you to open this door and give me what I asked for. I can't do that, Mr. Walsh. You need to turn yourself in to security. Security? Walsh laughed. Jake, security is a little busy right now. There's been an incident in the morgue. Something about someone tampering with the body storage units. They're all down there trying to figure out what happened. My blood ran cold. He'd created a distraction to get security away from the pharmacy level. Here's what's going to happen, Jake, Walsh continued, his voice getting closer to the door. You're going to unlock this door and give me 50 milligrams of fentanyl, plus whatever oxycodone and morphine you have in stock. And then I'm going to walk out of here, and nobody gets hurt. And if I don't, well, Jake, I've spent 6 months learning the layout of this hospital. I know where the oxygen tanks are stored. I know where the main gas lines run through the building. And I know that a small explosion in the right place could cause a lot of problems for a lot of innocent people. I realized Walsh wasn't just threatening me. He was threatening the entire hospital. Patients on life support, people in surgery, newborns in the NICU. Hundreds of people who would die if he carried out his threats. Jake, I can hear you breathing in there, and I want you to know that I don't want to hurt anyone, but I'm going to get what I came for, one way or another. The only question is how many people get hurt in the process. The doorknob rattled as Walsh tested it, and I could hear him trying different keycards he'd obviously stolen from somewhere else in the hospital. You know what the funny thing is, Jake? Your hospital treated my girlfriend Rebecca when she was dying from pancreatic cancer. Stage 4, inoperable, the whole nightmare. And you know what your pain management team told her? That they were concerned about addiction potential. Addiction potential. For a woman who had maybe 6 weeks to live. I could hear Walsh getting more agitated, his voice rising with each word. So Rebecca spent her last days screaming in agony because your doctors were worried she might get hooked on pain meds. And now here I am, trying to get enough medication to make sure other people don't have to suffer like she did. Mr. Walsh, I said through the door, I'm sorry about Rebecca, but this isn't the way to help other patients, isn't it? Walsh slammed something against the door, making me jump. Tell me, Jake, how many people are lying in beds upstairs right now, begging for relief from pain that your doctors refuse to treat adequately? How many people are suffering because medical professionals are more afraid of drug addicts than they are of letting patients die in agony? I didn't have an answer for that, because he wasn't entirely wrong. Pain management in hospitals is complicated, and sometimes patients do suffer because doctors are conservative with powerful medications. Open the door, Jake. I'm not going to ask again. That's when I heard the sound that still gives me nightmares. The distinct click of a cigarette lighter being flicked open. Jake, I'm standing next to the oxygen tank storage room. Do you know what happens when concentrated oxygen meets an open flame? I knew exactly what happened. The entire basement level would become a fireball, killing everyone in the building's lower floors, and potentially bringing down structural supports for the upper levels. You're bluffing, I said, but my voice was shaking. Am I? Rebecca used to work in hospital maintenance before she got sick. She taught me a lot about how these old buildings are put together. Did you know that Saint Vincent's was built in 1987, before modern fire suppression standards? There are parts of this basement that would go up like a matchbox. I heard the lighter click again, and the faint smell of butane drifted under the door. Last chance, Jake. Unlock the door, and give me what I need, or I'll turn this place into Rebecca's funeral pyre. I had no choice. I opened the door. Walsh was standing there with a lighter in one hand, and what looked like a makeshift fuse in the other. Some kind of cloth soaked in something flammable. Behind him, I could see he'd somehow opened the oxygen tank storage room. Smart choice, Jake. Now, let's get those medications, and then I'll be on my way. As I unlocked the controlled substances vault, my hand shaking so badly, I could barely work the combination. Walsh kept talking. You know what the really sick part is? I don't even use drugs. Never have. All of this, breaking into hospitals, threatening people, risking prison. It's not for me. It's for people like Rebecca, who are going to suffer and die because the medical system is too broken to help them. I filled a bag with the medications Walsh had requested, calculating in my head how many people would die if he distributed them incorrectly. 50 milligrams of fentanyl could kill 25 people if they didn't have tolerance. The oxycodone and morphine could kill dozens more. This isn't helping anyone, I said as I handed him the bag. You're just going to create more Rebeccas. Walsh looked at me with something like pity. No, Jake. The system creates more Rebeccas. I'm just trying to balance the scales. Security found Walsh's car in the parking garage an hour later, but he was long gone. The medications were never recovered, and as far as I know, Walsh was never caught. Every few months, I see news reports about pharmacy break-ins at hospitals across Texas, and I wonder if it's him, still trying to balance those scales. The worst part, 3 days after the incident, I got a call from Cedar Park Regional. Walsh had never worked there. The scrubs he was wearing were stolen from their laundry service, but he'd somehow known enough about hospital operations to fool everyone who met him. I still work the night shift at Saint Vincent, but I don't hum anymore. Whenever I hum, my voice echoes inside me, and I relive that moment. And whenever I hear footsteps in the basement corridors, I wonder if Walsh will come back tonight to finish what he started.